At some point in our healing journey, we're all going to reach this frustration point where it's not that I don't want to heal, it's I know something is there, but I don't know how to reach it. And this is especially true for themes like emotional healing. You know that there's something that's living within you, but you don't know how to access it. You don't know how to express it. Concepts like we need to feel things to heal things, books like The Body Keeps a Score. The more we know, the more we can feel frustrated that, for example, I know that I have this anger within me, but I don't know how to express it. I know that there is sadness and I can feel that gloom, kind of just this dark cloud over me, but I don't even know how to shed tears. And this can feel like a very crippling feeling for people like us. We are doing all the work, but we still feel stuck somehow. I'm Casey, an emotional alchemy guide. I am here to help you reconnect with your inner world so that you learn to trust your emotions again, because I believe that our emotions are a guiding compass and it can hold all the answers to our embodied healing as well as our growth, just the key to becoming the version of ourselves that we want to be. I wanted to make today's video, How to Feel Your Feelings, inspired by the many feedback and conversations in general that I have with people in my community. And specifically, it's these wise, sensitive beings who are so devoted to their growth and healing, and they have also been trained and taught their whole life to go the opposite way, right? Don't feel your feelings, don't dwell on your emotions, instead power through life and cope and numb. Perhaps they have reached a breaking point. So it's kind of this tug of war between their intuition and who they really are, as well as all these conditions that have been placed upon them when all these two worlds kind of clash and collide. And we know that there's something there, but we don't know how to access it. It can feel really frustrating and we can feel really stuck at this point. So if you resonate with this message, this video is for you. We're gonna go into the skills and techniques on how to feel our feelings again, especially in a world where we've conditioned to kind of move away from it, right? Because feeling is something that is very primal, innate. Every single human being who's ever walked this earth knows emotion. It's actually really interesting how in the healing space now, we're taught all these concepts which are wonderful. The issue comes when all these things live on a mental level and they lack a lived experience. And so what happens is, in this emotional healing realm, an agenda slowly sneaks in where we feel the need to feel something in order to arrive at something, right? There's an agenda behind it. Here's the thing. Real feeling has no agenda. We feel simply because we're human. And so before we even get started on today's video, I just want to remind you of the paradoxical nature of life, which when it comes to emotional healing, we're not feeling to become more healed, but in allowing our feelings to come through, healing also comes through. That's just the paradoxical nature of life itself. Okay, so if you're ready, let's get started. First of all, your body already knows how to feel. We have just forgotten how to trust it. Oftentimes, without us even noticing what it's doing, if we just listen to our body and allow it to naturally do its thing at the right time, our body is doing half the work, or more than half the work. But again, because of all the conditionings and what we've been taught in society, we don't often listen to the body. We turn to the mind instead. And our mind and the different expectations that society has for us is constantly overriding our own intuition. And because there's so much overriding control happening all the time, slowly and slowly, it's like we're accumulating more and more, quote unquote, trauma in our body, if you will. So first of all, it's remembering that the body it already is so wise. So here are some examples that I find fascinating. When I first learned this really helpful breathing technique that is called the physiological sigh, the person that taught me it explained to me the mechanism behind why it works. So if you haven't heard of this breathing technique, the physiological sigh is basically taking a two-part inhale through the nose and then a big deep exhale through the mouth. So if you want to just quickly try it with me, empty all the air out of your lungs And then take a deep inhale, pause, take an extra sip of air, pause, and slow, deep exhale through the mouth. Okay, I already feel calmer. I should have done this before starting this video. Okay, it really works. It just instantly brings this calmness to the body. And he told me, actually, our body does the same thing when we're crying and sobbing, and it's like really intense moments, right? So if you've ever ugly cried, you do this thing where you're like, and it's kind of the same thing that we're mimicking. And then pairing that with a deep exhale, which is once again something that the body naturally does when it needs to just let go of intense emotions, right? You know, someone told you something really stupid and dumb, and you're like, I can't even deal with it. So there's so many things that the body naturally does that's here to help us clear things out. And another example I learned is during my breathwork certification. In the breathwork modality that I was trained in, there are different elements that's included, including sound release like screaming, moaning, as well as somatic movements such as shaking. I always feel really, really good whenever I shake when I'm doing this breath work. My teachers explained how in the wild, animals do this all the time because it's very normal that in our nervous system flexibility, we go through times and periods of really deep peace. And this is where we eat, we digest food, we have sex. And then we also have the flexibility to, in the face of danger, move into our fight, flight, freeze response, where we need to, well, as the name suggests, fight, flight, or freeze. The thing is, in order to have and remain the flexibility, we need to have that moment of discharge in the middle. So again, in the animal kingdom, in the wild, say animals have just been chased by predator. Right after the danger is kind of gone, they don't just, okay, let's go back to our normal life and eat. Because the body needs kind of like a moment of discharge and reset. So what they do is very intuitively, very primal nature, they just shake things off. Right, maybe that's where the term shake things off come from, you know? Yeah, you've gone through a really kind of big and intense moment in life, and before you come back to your normal day-to-day living, you just shake things off. That kind of signals to the body, okay, we're transitioning. It also helps you to discharge any of those like intense energy that's been stuck in the body because you need to face danger and you need to either fight, flight, or freeze. So coming back to the body, that's just something that we will naturally do, but how often do we see people shaking on the street? But because of course it's going to be weird. So it's also part of society and culture that we're not to step out of line. We're not to do something that's weird, that's awkward, right? So we don't do that anymore. But if we all just allowed the wisdom of our body, say after a really big fight with our partners, we have all this energy that's like in us. And instead of just pretending like, okay, now we're normal, back to normal, if we can just spend a moment to tune into what the body needs, and maybe very well at that moment we need to shake things off, maybe we want to stomp our feet, maybe we want to yell, maybe we want to cry, whatever the body's natural expression is, if we just give it a moment to complete its cycle, to do its thing, to discharge energy that's not needed, so to create more spaciousness, then we'll be holding a lot less energetic yuck in our field. So because of how smart our body actually are, the body isn't the problem, it's our disconnection from the body's wisdom that is the issue here. So you might ask, if all these expressions are so primal to us, right? The body just knows. Why is it so hard? And I'm really glad that you asked that question. It's because our human mind wants to control things. In our society, somewhere along the line, we've just been taught to regulate and control our emotions, which is something that can be seen as very wild and uncontrollable and scary, like the ocean. We've been taught to control this part of us with our mind, which is more stable, logical, easy to control. So in saying that, nobody actually showed us how to feel. Even for myself, and I've been doing this work for a couple of years now, I still sometimes fall into the trap, and then it's like when you're in it, you don't see it, right? There's been so many times when I'm kind of like in a self-healing section, and I'm like, okay, yes, I'm feeling this, I'm really releasing this, I'm living the memory, and I'm connecting with my body, just to find out halfway through that, oh no, I'm not actually feeling it. I'm actually intellectualizing it. I'm analyzing my healing. I am trying to map out why I feel this way, and to all again feed my mind something so that the whole experience feels less scary. That's to say, I still fall into the trap sometimes, and it's because this conditioning runs so deep. And this is actually, from what I see, one of the biggest blockages to us having a healthier, better relationship with our emotions, which is that over intellectualizing our emotion. And this is not to say that anyone who does it is bad. I still do it from time to time, just out of habit. A lot of us, we just don't really know how to feel. We know how to analyze our feelings, we know how to think about our feelings, but it's actually incredibly hard to truly tune into our emotions. And actually, I've mapped out an emotional era kind of journey where there are 6 archetypes that all of us in our healing journey will kind of just flow from one to another. And the very first archetype that I came up with is the protector. Those people who are the protector in life, they're in this numb kind of era where they let their mind kind of be a shield to protect them because feeling has been so dangerous in the past. If you want to find out which emotional era you're in or which archetype you belong to, I'll link the 3-minute free quiz in the description below. It's actually a really fun quiz. And then in the accompanying free PDF, I included a tailored practice for each era. So there's a core distinction between thinking and feeling. I was really inspired by a teacher, a spiritual teacher. His name is Sah D'Simone, and he talks about this often, how we need to drop into our sensations and let the story go. The key distinction is when we're dropping into feeling, we're really paying attention to things that might not seem very productive to notice. For example, okay, I'm feeling hot now, cold in this area, very tight, like a contraction here, or something else. Versus when we're thinking and intellectualizing our emotions, we are stuck in the narrative of things, which can be, depending on how you look at it, very interesting place to be in, right? We're analyzing why we're feeling this way. Maybe we're connecting the dots. We're feeling this way because I have this abandonment wound, because of my parents' divorce, because of a breakup. Okay, and then now I'm feeling this heartache. Okay, that makes sense because of something that happened last year. I remember I felt this way too. You see how the narrative can go on, and now you also see how it's actually a very easy trap to fall into, especially when you're a very self-reflective person. You start to feel, and then halfway through you start to connect the dots, and then because we have such a devoted attitude to our healing, we want to understand and we want to make sense of things. We want to be able to see the bigger picture. But coming back to the theme of today's video, those are all still intellectualizing our feelings. It's like when you're connecting, when you're busy connecting the dots, and then your real feelings that really needs your attention, you know, the ones that could seem less productive because you're not understanding it on a cosmic bird's eye perspective, right? It's just sitting there waiting for you to be there with them, with no agenda, with no expectations, but just to feel. And that's what I mean by feeling your feelings. So because understanding your feelings and actually feeling your feelings are two very different things, a good way to practice dropping into the sensation and dropping to the body in a very agendaless way would be to do it before the big triggers set in. So even on a day-to-day way, in your day-to-day, you know, when you're not busy reading books or listening to podcasts or doing work, just simply sitting and noticing the sounds that you hear, noticing what you're sensing on your skin, whether that's cold air, warm air, humidity. You can even just sit and breathe and notice the sound of your breath. So all these very neutral sensations, right? Without needing to go into a big story behind it. Like, I'm hearing this, I think the birds are flying in, or whatever that is, just noticing. So that's a great way to practice, okay, this is what noticing means. And then when you feel comfortable doing that, you can enter into our first practice, which is dropping into a sensation while working with an emotional memory. So maybe you're in a meditation practice. You can bring up an emotional memory, whether that is a happy memory like joy, like a time you felt a lot of joy, or a sad memory, or just an emotional memory. As you bring up this memory, maybe you can close your eyes. If you want to do it now, just very quickly, I'll go through the practice with you. And as you breathe and remembering this memory in your mind's eye, start to notice the shifts in sensation in the body. So for example, right now I'm thinking about a really happy memory. And immediately I feel tingles. I feel this expansion in my heart. I feel like my energy is going up and out. Okay, and maybe there are more that you can sense here. You can open your eyes if you had them closed. And you can stay there for however long you want, but also notice when you're slowly dropping into narrative, slowly dropping into storytelling mode, and stick with the very pure sensations itself. And you can do this, the same thing, with an emotional memory, like a quote unquote negative one. And of course, there are going to be emotions and sensations that are easier to sit with than others. So for example, I just happened to pull up a really joyous experience I had while I was living in Santa Barbara and I was at the beach, and it's just really good place to be in, right? But say that there are also really traumatic memories and big sensations that stir up a lot in your body, and those might be a lot harder to sit with. So this is where the issue, or rather the concept of our emotional bandwidth, come in. It is like everything in life, also something that you can practice and continue to widen your capacity in. So what emotional bandwidth is just the capacity in which your body, your system feels safe enough to be in. Like what we've been doing, notice the neutral sensation and yada, yada, yada. There's a capacity that your body feels like, okay, we can be here. And then whenever it kind of tips over to the edge, it's going to be sounding this alarm in your body like, okay, we're going a little bit too much, too far to the edge. And this is the time where it's very possible that when you tip over what feels like a safe capacity, your body goes into all these natural responses to safely protect you. For example, it might start distracting itself, or like what we talked about, this is where maybe the mind's narrative start to come in, because again, we don't know how much the body can take. So let the mind comes in to help you control the situation a bit better, help you understand, because the body recognizes understanding as control and control as safety. So it might start to give you information. Okay, this happens because, and then you might start to tip over to that intellectualizing part because it feels a little unsafe to be in that edge. Or you might shut down. Maybe it suddenly becomes really hard to access those neutral sensations, or something else, depending on what your body's reaction is and kind of that safety mechanism is. Instead of forcing ourselves to keep going over the edge, which at some point is going to lead to emotional burnout, healing burnout. Your body no longer feels safe to be in this feeling realm. And then maybe it's very possible that it will switch all the way over to the other side of the pendulum when it never wants to feel a thing again, because the few experiences that you've had with feelings were so scary and it felt so out of control. So before we even get to that part, this is why I don't love to force people into feeling, especially when we've not really been taught to feel. A lot of us don't really have a lot of positive experiences to draw from in the past with feeling itself. So what I like to guide myself as well as my clients and people that I work with in doing is slowly, kind of like how you would inhale and exhale. You're just going to feel and come back to the safety zone. Feel a little bit more and come back. And then take a slightly deeper inhale and exhale. What this teaches the body, of course, is that it feels safe and also that you're in control, and that actually, on some level, it has a sense of kindness and compassion that's involved, right? We're not forcing our agenda. You need to feel it all so that we can heal through this. You're not forcing your own agenda upon your body. You're really working with the natural rhythm with the body. Again, just like the breath, you're going to inhale, you're going to exhale. You're going to take a deeper inhale and then a deeper exhale. All right, so this slowly is also going to train train your relationship and the trust that you have with your body and what you can hold. So you might wonder, okay, how actually do I expand my bandwidth? There's so many different ways, truly infinite different ways to do this. I will just share one practice today that I can think of. And I actually later noticed that a lot of people do this. I didn't even know that it was a thing, I swear to God. But my intuition kind of just guided me to this practice when I was living in Bali. And I remember I was sitting on my bed and one day I was like, okay, I kind of want to like expand my bandwidth. What am I going to do? So I closed my eyes and went into an emotional memory and I dropped into my sensations, kind of like what we've been talking about. And then very naturally, I started going in and out and in and out. So what I mean by this is we're not going to do this right now because let me know in the comments if you would like me to guide a proper practice with this. But right now I'm just going to share with you the general essence of what it is. And if you're interested, maybe after this video, you're welcome to do this on your own. So what I did was, with that emotional memory that was a little hard to feel at the time, I went into it, kind of like I dropped myself into the scene. And then I felt a lot of intensity in the body, right? And then I breathed with it. I didn't really give myself a time frame because I'm not like a numbers person, but if you want maybe like a 10 seconds, for me, I just listened to my body. And whenever it would feel like too much, I took a breath and I came out of it. And I think my body physically did that too as a cue to help me. So then I would come out of it. And when I came out of it, I made sure that I wasn't thinking about it anymore. I wasn't going into the story of it. I wasn't like prepping myself or nothing at all. I just sat there and I just breathed. Like nothing happened. Like I was just like switching between dimensions. And then when I felt okay again, like very neutralized, I would consciously step back in, right? So now you get the essence. So I would go in and out quite a few times. And I noticed that every time I went into that emotional memory, each time I went in, it actually became more and more familiar. So in other words, it became less and less scary for my body to be with that emotion. So feel free to try these two practices out. Know that you don't have to try to force all this going from feeling nothing at all to 100% because it can overwhelm and maybe re-traumatize your system. Not to bring fear to you, but I just want you to know that just like how we started this video and what I shared in the beginning of this video, which is feeling shouldn't be accompanied by an agenda. You know, feeling is something that you already know how to do. You simply have to allow it and have that curiosity to want to befriend your emotions a little bit more. Know that this is a lifelong practice, and the more you grow, the more you'll keep discovering different layers of yourself. So there's no need at all to rush everything to be completed today in this moment. All right. Thank you for tuning in to today's video. If you found it helpful, you can give a like, comment, or subscribe to my channel, whatever feels correct for you. If you feel like going a little bit deeper in your emotional healing practice, I have a bundle that would be perfect for you, which I'll link in the description box. It will be the second bundle, bundle 2, that's all about emotional release and safely widening your bandwidth to feel. Alternatively, if you desire tailored support, one-on-one bookings are open. I will also link that in the description box. See you soon.